Coming at you live from my home studio in beautiful La Puente, California. This is the All Dodgers podcast, and as you guys know, it's our special monthly reviews, fancy show thing, whatever you want to call it. Scott Geirman's going to be here in a second. Producer Kevin is back from the dead after dealing with an ouchy throat for a little while. But this is a show as part of the Believe network of podcasts. Please subscribe if you would not mind. What is going on, Clint Nation? Happy Tuesday. Coming at you live a little bit before first pitch against the Diamondbacks. We don't care about that. We care about what happened earlier in the season. That's what today's a little bit about. So takeaways from the month of June, surprises from the season so far, some more concerns for this team as we head into the month of July. Realistically, looking at the biggest team needs, this is trade deadline season. So we'll have some bold trade predictions in here, and of course, our letter grades for the season. So let me do one last bit of housekeeping for you here. I got to tell you about BetOnline. It's the number one source for all your sports betting needs this season, from baseball, golf, soccer, right on up to the top fights in MMA, UFC, and boxing. Every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads while games are happening, while they're being played. It's all there. BetOnline. When the game's over, you can head on over to the online casino, get in on a game of blackjack or poker, unwind with over 150 slot games to choose from. So go there, head to the website today, get in on the action, use promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV. You get a 50% free credit on your first deposit up to $250, and that's as good as money. Almost, I think. I don't know how it works. I should probably check it out. But BetOnline, the game starts here. And like we like to say, the show starts here. And there it is. There's the boys right there. We got Kevin. We got Scott Geirman back in the house. What's going on, boys? Happy Tuesday to you. How we feeling?
Doing pretty well, man. Long time no see. This is I'm excited about these. I always like doing the monthly shows. We get to just, touch base, do a little recap, break down the team in various ways, talk about all three phases here and kind of, look at it candidly and really look at it as a whole instead of just looking at it on the month to month. I like to go in all in thing. So it's been a nice show so far,
Yeah, I think, Kevin and I were talking before going live about the idea of kind of like, maybe we look back. Maybe this is a championship season, and now, I'm going a little bit deeper into what Kevin and I talked about. But you catalog these. You look at the story of the season from edition 1 to edition 3, all the way down to edition end of October, championship. They're dancing in the city, dancing at City Hall and all that kind of stuff. So, guys, bookmark these. Maybe we get to talk about them when we are, celebrating that piece of metal. Kevin, you've been away. How you been?
Good. On the mend, as they say. Taking my first rehab start, as it were.
You and Joe Kelly at the same time. So, guys, let's get into it. It is we just concluded month 3 of the season, the third full month of the season. We got some June takeaways. Dodgers go 16-10 in the month of June. I'll lead us off on this way. My big takeaway, if it's even a big takeaway, is injuries suck. And this team got its teeth kicked in a little bit, losing Mookie Betts to a significant hand injury, got the broken hand. Of course, losing Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who arguably I think a lot of us are the most worried about Yoshi-san when it comes to his future, because this team needs that guy. They need that. He's lined up to be their number 2 guy. So that's my kind of to lead us into this. That sucks. And then also Kevin Biggio existing in the Dodgers not wanting to play Miguel Vargas, but that's a whole other kind of scenario. Scott, what you got for a takeaway for June?
Yeah, I'd love to piggyback on that. Injuries suck. You don't know the depth until, it's a team that we're not completely sold on, has to dig even deeper into that depth and kind of how they're handling it. It's been peculiar. But I would say just the continued dominance of the the pitching staff as a whole. And I would say for June, that's been my takeaway because honestly, with as good as the offense has been without Mookie Betts and at their times, I would say it's a continued success of the starting pitching, bullpen, all as a whole.
Kevin, what do you got for us? You got anything?
Yeah. Pardon.
Besides dying.
Besides that. For me, it's how thin this team really is, and especially offensively, the organization as a whole. At the beginning of the year, we knew this team was pretty top-heavy, but this is without a doubt the shallowest Dodgers team in recent memory. It's a pretty stark contrast from, the 17, 18 days, even the 2020. So that's kind of been a big takeaway. You mentioned the injuries and really not having really anyone in the wings, just like as a fill-in, just like an easy, like, let's just see what this kid's got. That's tough to kind of grapple with right now.
Hey, Scott, it almost sounds a little bit like what we were talking about last night. I mean, there
this
are
is
some
our
guys.
time.
Yeah.
Is this our time to expand on that? We can go.
Let's go.
We did this.
Let it eat.
It is the most uncomfortable feeling I've had watching a team that they don't have platoon split guys that you're like, set it, forget it, and rock it away. Like even the Diamondbacks have a few of them. Like it's just, you have Jock, Alec Thomas is coming back up. It's just the Dodgers do not have this. It's such a landlocked roster where the big lefty killer bat, if Gavin Lux is starting, Jason Hayward's starting, who's coming off the bench? They just don't have it. So it's a thing where it's who is on the bench that you feel comfortable with in a big pinch hitting spot. The best case scenario is if Will Smith doesn't start, and that's insane. Yeah, it's a terrible feeling.
It's a little bit of a problem there, and arguing against what Kevin said, or not even against. It's like I think there's a few people who feel this team does have some options that can kind of plug into the lineup, whether they be on the roster right now or from AAA. I'll mention it again. Andre Lipsius is one of those guys we would love to see here at the big league level. I already said Miguel Vargas kind of getting buried. I'd love to see some Miggy Vargas getting some opportunities. Hopefully he gets some more now with, I guess we could say ostensibly Kike Hernandez and Kevin Biggio kind of getting buried on the Dave Roberts depth chart, with Chris Taylor getting more run at third base. And unfortunately, my pie in the sky hope that maybe the Kevin Biggio DFA would happen today, and we would be able to be dancing in the street celebrating a Lipsius call up or something like that. Did not happen. Alan Trejo did happen. That is a real signing, as we covered last night. But they have some options. And Kevin, you're talking about how kind of good those 17 teams were, the 18 teams were. I mean, it's kind of the same guys. It's Chris Taylor, it's Kike Hernandez, it's Austin Barnes. It's the same guys. It's just the production isn't the same as it was 5 years ago.
Later. It's the same guys 7 years later.
Okay, Scott, that feels like a problem to me, by the way. We're kind of riding on these same dudes.
It's just right now. So if we're looking at in a vacuum, looking at a June, we'll just keep it right there. We'll stay on that. And, the offense as a whole, it was propped up for sure. When Mookie Betts was in there, he wasn't playing out of his mind, but the offense was propped up by Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani playing out of their mind. And as it is, they have the second best offense in the National League for this past month. But if you look at each individual performance, we're talking about the guys that we're all, complaining about. We're putting on them under a microscope. It's not even complaining. It's just highlighting bad performance. Yeah. I don't like when people say, why are you complaining? They were at a 16-10 record this last month. Yeah. It's not that. It's that the roster, just like Kevin said, it's on thin ice. It's working on it's fluctuating where the margins were not, buffed like they normally are. Andrew Friedman runs a tight ship that when he likes to make trades, it's just operating and improving on the margins because all the main, like the holes are plugged. But now we're dealing with Kevin Biggio at a 46 WRC plus. I'll just go straight through. Austin Barnes, 62. Gavin Lux, 70. Will Smith was, had a bad month of June. Kike Hernandez was all right with a 91 WRC plus, and that's crazy. And I still think the only reason he's on the team is because Max Muncy's out. They need depth with Mookie Betts, and they're just like, there might be some left in the tank. It's just a tough thing. And Chris Taylor's had a good month, but where are why is it such a problem for them to really call up some of these guys in the minor leagues? I know why, because you have to start the clock, and then you have to, if you bring them up, you send them down and so, and they have time. But looking at it for what it is, it's just the production is so bad. When it's bad, they lose games because of it.
Kevin, I know you're seeing some of the comments in there. People talking about, well, I saw one earlier, Showtime LA, who's one of our friends in the Discord server, says Kevin is washed. Care to comment on that first?
I responded that I showered today. So
there we go. Look at that. Atta boy. I'm gonna give him the clap for that one. But Elisheva Jones saying, I miss Muncy. Mike Carrillo saying, we need Muncy back so bad. Maybe, hopefully this is the month we do get Max Muncy back. Maybe 2-3 weeks from now. That would be a massive boost to this roster. But still, if Chris Taylor found the whatever's going to fix his swing. If they found something that works, gets him back going line drives. He talked this week about using the opposite field again, which I think it shows that what we're seeing out of Chris Taylor is the fruits of a lot of labor and rebuilding that swing. Then he moves back to left field. What does that mean for Miguel Vargas or whatever, getting more opportunities for him in there? We're still running with a Jason Hayward out there. We're still running with the tandem of Miguel Vargas, and we're clamoring for Miguel Vargas, but still, this is a very unproven commodity out there. Andy Pages, another guy, unproven commodity as we trend towards the deadline, as we trend towards a postseason berth, and in a year where expectations are through the roof. And I talked to Dave Roberts today, spoiler alert, for Dodgers Territory. Guys, check it out tomorrow. It will drop at noon, mine and Alanna's conversation, but that was one of the things he was talking about. It's like there's a lot more scrutiny, and they're feeling it a little bit. There's more scrutiny on this team after you go out and commit as much money as they did this offseason. So we're sitting here. You mentioned the numbers there, Scott. Kevin Biggio, they took the flyer on him. It feels like they've gone a little too long. Missing Muncy in that situation, but the outfield, I don't know if that's a championship outfield. I know I'm just kind of riffing here. So whoever wants to jump in and bail me from this, go ahead.
I got you.
Go ahead.
You want to get mad? Everybody in chat want to get mad?
I'm in.
So we want, I think everybody will say it. If anybody says you don't want Miguel Vargas to play, then you need to learn ball. Like Miguel Vargas, for what he's doing when he's up at the plate, he looks like a much improved hitter. He's doing all the things. He's done exactly what the Dodgers have asked him to do. He's stuck himself in a corner outfield position. He's preparing. He's with the team. He's sitting his ass on the bench, and it's a tough thing. Kevin Biggio has had more plate appearances in the month of June than Miguel Vargas. It's criminal. And we're talking about two players on opposite spectrums here. Like Miguel Vargas, small sample, but 25 plate appearances, 162 WRC plus. He's got a 4% strikeout rate. He's doing everything that needs to be done to earn playing time. So I don't know what the hell they're doing. I really don't know. Like, if they're not going to play him at third base and they're not going to go that route and they want to keep him in left field, go ahead. But it has to be now. Like, it has to be, if you're going to, Dave Roberts committing to Chris Taylor and saying, I'm going to give you this runway, that if he's playing up, then sure, go ahead. But you have to give Miguel Vargas time in left or trade him. And if that's what they're doing, then trade him, send him down, protect his value, and go from there. And that's the thing from this last month that's just pissed me off about this, how they're operating currently. Because of everybody that's underperforming, why are they not giving guys who are showing positive signs, the runway to play, and keep going down this feel-good story of, allowing these, fan favorite players, Kike Hernandez, Chris Taylor's cool if he's going to turn around, fine, but just like guys who don't deserve this playing time, why are they still playing?
We're in this situation where we can complain all we want, but we know this team always finds a way to perform. They're going to go and find a way to win 100 games, even, having somebody like Andy Burns in the lineup back in 2021 or something like that. They win. They win. They know how to put together a roster that's going to survive the rigors of a regular season.
Always.
And it gets to that point, though, where you are frustrated seeing this. But I was going to say, the whole point of it is you give some faith to them. You said 16-10 in June, 19 games over 500 at this point, but it's still frustrating. And it's easy, it's understandable to be frustrated. What do you got for us, Kevin?
Richard Flores, very complimentary today, except to the bench. 199 super chat says, seen better benches in a park. Our bench sucks. Couldn't agree more. And he says, compliments on the cleanliness of my kitchen. Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
The man knows hard work when he sees it.
We need that one. I also saw he had asked, why is Kevin at the kids' table again? That's one of the scenes I have set up here. I only have a few scenes today because I didn't get a bunch of time to set all this up. Guys, it's a one-man show here. If you want me to do more things, more of you guys need to jump onto Patreon. More of you guys need to jump onto YouTube members so I have more time to work on the graphics. But at least you get to hear us as we're talking about baseball. Danny Cortez, I don't understand why Vargas is treated like he's a step kid. And we talked a lot about that. It feels like last night, Scott. I think we're at a point where the kid deserves some runway. Hopefully he does get some runway, at least in a true platoon with Jason Hayward. But this is the month. If you're going to boost his trade value, do it now. Or if you're going to play him, do it now. If you're going to bury him, just get it over with.
Yeah, if that's the platoon. So if Hayward's the platoon there and they want to run with that, that's just ideal. Like we, prior to the year, if you watch people, kept tabs, all our, Dodger Blue regulars that are in here, you've heard me harp on it since the offseason. If they're I would prefer they have just one platoon and go if Hayward and somebody else and go from there. Hey, Teoscar filled a need for there and for my other one, because it was like they can't have two. They can't have two, and if they're going to run Outman every day, which they ended up not doing, then they need to avoid having two platoons, because that's entirely too tough to manage. And now they don't even have one because they're just Jason. It's just a tough thing. So Teoscar is going to be there, and Andy Paz is playing every day. Now you have to. I would really love them to lock that down and say Miguel Vargas and Jason Hayward, you are that left field, right field platoon, whatever. They just mix and match Teoscar, however. But I'd like them to solidify that going forward. And if not, then you need to shift your focus towards the infield and how to remedy that and get Gavin Lux out of the starting lineup, because no matter what he does, there is nothing that he can do once Mookie Betts comes back that I'm going to be like, okay, Gavin Lux, you deserve starts. And that's you don't want to get me going on here, because I'll just take over my time on it. But I hope that they're not waiting for like what comes available at the deadline, like the best opportunity or the best trade to go. I'd like them to, it's not like the offseason where you have multiple players that you can sign, and then if that's the route that opens up, then they go that way. I would like them to commit to some players that are currently on the roster and go that way, because Miguel Vargas has shown that he's playing well. I'd like them to commit to that and then go elsewhere. And especially, and anybody in chat, if you agree that the Dodgers are going to sit back and at the deadline they're going to say, we don't need to do this, because our free agent additions or our big deadline additions are going to be Max Muncy, Yamamoto, that's Walker Buehler whenever he gets back. If that's how they're going to roll, it's just unacceptable, because this bench sucks. It sucks.
The bench sucks.
It does not comfortable, man.
I do think they find a way to supplement the bench. I think they go one little route there. But Kevin, this is something we've kind of talked around a little bit, and I know it's also been a point of a conversation in the Discord chat. It's like, if you're expecting these guys to come back and you're relying on these guys to come back and give you their career norms, kind of just plug into the lineup. And
back of the baseball card. I'm all in on that lately. I love that. Alanna brought that up, and I'm like, I'm signing up on the back of the baseball card thing. That's me with Randy.
But it's Randy Arozarena. That's another thing. Yeah. We'll talk trades a little bit later on in the stream, guys. So stay tuned. Make sure you share the stream. Get everybody in here. Tell your grandma. Tell the mailman. We are live right now. Before first pitch, Dodgers versus Diamondbacks. But Kevin, you can't bank on these guys coming back and just kind of, giving you what they're expected to do. Maybe there's some hiccups. Maybe Mookie Betts struggles with that hand injury. Maybe the oblique, took away the magic of Max Muncy at on defense at third. Maybe Yamamoto's shoulder is absolutely toast, and we should be more concerned about it. You can't rely on those guys coming back and doing what is expected of them. You got to just hope that they're not what we've seen from Walker Buehler so far, where we're longing for another for years past, I guess we'll say.
Yeah, I don't remember if it might have been both 22 and 21 where they waited not 21 obviously, 22 or 23, where they just waited for like the return of Tony Gonsolin, Dustin May, and a bunch of other pitchers, and they just didn't address the starting pitch because they're like, oh, we got a bunch of guys coming back, and then they either A, didn't come back, or B, weren't very good. I'm not super worried about like Mookie Betts coming back and like how that hand will affect him. He'll come back fully healthy. They won't push that. Max is a good point. Shoulders and pitchers, that's a nightmare. So who knows what Yamamoto looks like when he gets back. But we can't sit at the deadline and just think, okay, well, like Scott said, these are our trade line acquisitions. No, you spent $1.32 billion this offseason. To do that and then not fill in holes at the deadline would just be criminal. It would be horrible if they go silent into the night at the deadline.
And it'd be pretty unfair, I feel, to Shohei Ohtani, who obviously he took a pretty team. He's making a lot of money, and he's going to make a lot of money over the lifetime of his tenure as a Dodger. But he took a pretty team-friendly deal also at the same time to come here and afford them this massive opportunity financially to go out and win this year, win next year. Yeah, you don't expect a Mookie Betts injury, and he's somebody I expect to come back. I think you could comfortably bank on him coming back and being something closer to what we saw earlier in the season as opposed to what we saw towards the tail end before he was getting hurt or before he got hurt, where he was kind of tail spinning a little bit. But other than that, again, you worry about Muncy and you really worry about Yamamoto, and that's what, I guess that shifts us into the next part of this conversation. It's like, where have our opinions changed from the first edition of these from last month in this mini series? And where my opinion has changed the most is maybe the Dodgers do need starting pitching help, because I, for a while, was one of those guys that's like, hey, they're going to have Kershaw coming back. Walker Buehler, he's going to come back. He should be able to figure it out. But now I'm not as bold in the paint. I'm not going hard in the paint on banking on those dudes. Maybe they need a starter. What do you think, Scott?
Mike, my guy, we're dialed in on there today because I came ready to go with who my number one acquisition is that I would love for them to do. But I co-sign you. I'll stand here, hands up, that I said prior to all these injuries, with guys coming back and how they were performing, and my belief in the bullpen hasn't changed. I still believe this is a bullpen that can go on and win a ring. Like if you say they anchored the staff in October, I would absolutely say yes. I believe that 100%. I still do. But they're starting pitching right now with Yamamoto going down. Paxton is just, he's going to get you there, but he's just going to give innings. I hate when people pile on him because a team would stand on it. That team would kill to have a James Paxton at the back end who's just going to go out there, wear one if you need it, and just go through it. But the fact that, Bobby Miller, it's been bumpy. Clayton Kershaw, don't know what you're going to get. Walker Buehler is just having a realization with himself that I'll have a longer rant after our post game on DB tonight about him, but that they need starting pitching. They do but I really believe that the Dodgers right now are on a run that no matter who they bring in or who they have in the organization, I feel very confidently in, because it says something about Gavin Stone, Landon Knack, and a lot of these pitchers that have come up or made changes, and it just feels like they have some formula working. And a lot of the same things going on in Milwaukee, that some teams just things click all in 1 year. And I'm all in on what they're doing in terms of the changes that they've made, how they're managing, and they're getting it done. Teams are going to blow up stuff, but I really buy into whoever they bring in, whoever they call up is going to have a certain level of success. So there's going to be a baseline that we know, and we're not going to just toss people out there. And that's not counting Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, because guys are returning from injury. I'm not saying that. Yeah. But I do align with you that now I believe they do need a starting pitcher. I don't know about two, but I'm a Jack Flaherty guy right now. So if we're getting into trades, let me know.
We'll pin it. We'll talk trades a little bit. I want to fully talk about trades in its own segment a little bit later on in the show. Kevin, do you have an area where your opinion has changed from, let's say, from opening day to now, or even from 2 weeks ago to now?
It's just my opinion changed of the infield in that it is so bad. It is so much worse than I thought it was when the injuries happened. But it's for trades, it's not bad enough to where I think they need to necessarily address it, because they are gonna. I know we just talked about it. They are gonna get Muncy and Mookie back, which will help that tremendously. But it is just so bad. It is whoever is playing third base is it's a complete black hole. There's just nobody you're confident in. Gavin Lux hasn't turned it around really.
Lux in there.
I can't, and it's bad defensively too, which is something I can't stand. If you're gonna get brought in, if you can't swing the bat, at least play decent defense. I can't stand bad defense from guys who aren't even producing offensively. So that's just something where it's so hard to watch.
Yeah. Lux, I mean, I think I don't know if you echo my same sentiment, Scott, but when they were going to hand the keys to shortstop to Lux before last year, I was not all in. I was like, this is not the play. You don't go off of Corey Seager, who if all goes well in his career, could be a fringe Hall of Fame candidate. Trey Turner, who will go down as one of the best players of his generation, a top 70 player of his generation too.
Yeah.
Gavin Lux, who's never really put together a full, complete, uninjured season on both sides of the ball, and to be like, this is going to be our guy at shortstop. Oh, by the way, he only has about 60 games under his belt at the big league level as a shortstop when Corey Seager went down. I don't get. I saw a question at one point on one of these streams. I don't understand the infatuation with Gavin Lux and how he's earned so much of a run. But hey, maybe it goes back to what we were talking about last night too, where they've been so bad at hitting on position player signings and prospects, really international signings, that they're trying to make Gavin Lux work, and it's just not working.
I want to jump in here from this because I was somebody when they did announce he was going to be the full-time shortstop last year. I was all in on it, simply because he
liked to compete.
Let's not sit here and pretend Corey Seager was a great defensive shortstop nor Trey Turner. We knew Gavin Lux was at best going to be a league average shortstop. What he was supposed to bring was the bat. He sort of struggled in 2020, kind of rebounded. 2021, he was doing great until he got injured. Or do I have it 1 year early? I might have it 1 year early. It was 22. He was great until he got injured. I was all on board of, if Gavin Lux can do what he did in 22 while healthy, while playing competent defense, I am so here for this. And then it is unraveled because we thought if nothing else, he'd be able to swing a stick.
Yeah.
He has not been able to do that, which is why we're having the conversation we are now. His prospect pedigree indicated he could swing the stick. That's why everybody fell in love with Outman, because we all thought he's defense first guy. If he has any upside offensively, that's just a bonus. And then he just blew the doors off the league when he showed up. And everyone's like, oh my God, Outman's the greatest.
Yeah, that first month.
He wasn't. And it's kind of the inverse with Lux, is everybody just thought he'd at least be able to hit the ball. And then defensively, he would just be fine. And now he's basically neither, especially not in the position that was intended for him.
And you're talking about, the infield being your area where things have kind of changed. Your opinion, your perspective has changed. And when we're seeing an infield with Lux in there every day and, some amalgamation of CT3, Kike Hernandez, and Kevin Biggio, it's not a very good lineup and or good infield. And then let's be fair about it. I don't think any one of us, gentlemen, expected this out of Miguel Rojas, where he's kind of the savior of the infield. You knew the glove would be there. I don't think anybody would have banked on him being, what has he had, like a 130 weighted runs created plus or something like that. Like he's been killing it. You couldn't bank on that. He was going to be a guy on the bench akin to maybe a hair better than Austin Barnes, and that was about it. But he's kind of been the savior. He's been what this team needed, didn't know it needed when they, kind of signed him or brought him back and added that extension and all that. I saw you looking up some numbers over there, Scott.
Miguel Rojas has been a savior for this team. And when we look back on the story of the 2024 Dodgers, it'll be, me really looking in and us all remembering how, a positive that Miguel Rojas left on this Dodgers team, because, for whatever people think, and we've talked about his legs and if they're going to hold up and go through it, and it's working for now, and that's how it is. And if they just need to hold on, and once Mookie Betts come back, slide him over to second, and then Gavin Lux can be banished to the bench where he should be, and his ridiculous elevated ground ball rate, he does not hit the ball hard, everything's a rollover, he's going to run into a pop fly homer. It's inexcusable. And him going to get in the yips in spring training for 2 weeks absolutely erupted this team. Yeah. And I'll never get over having to move a 31-year-old superstar off a very, I just can't do it. This is bait. I bait myself into this. I'll never get over them moving a 31-year-old superstar, Mookie Betts, to a very intensive position of shortstop and letting Gavin Lux go through it. So yes, the infatuation is ridiculous. And I understand them saying, the upside, but Miguel Rojas is going to fix this. He's going to be consistent offensively because he's shown that he can already hit velo. And that's something that I was concerned about. Mm-hmm. And he's been able to catch up to that. He's not giving away at bats, and he's playing incredible defense. He's going to be one of the top shortstops defensively all year. And if that's what we're talking about, If we're saying a guy's just going to be a defensive wizard, but he can also give you quality at bats, sign me up. If you don't have a superstar making 30 plus million a year there, I want somebody that is in the mold of Miguel Rojas. And it's just, that's crazy to think about, because if we're like, yeah, this guy's got nothing in the tank. We know his glove's going to be there, but his bat is nothing. And he's showing everybody that he's still got it. Like, this is a renaissance year, man. Like over an 800 OPS in the month of June. He's cooking.
He's
crazy.
Go ahead.
I think one thing too about Rojas is his at-bat quality specifically. He never looks overmatched. He takes good pitches. You don't ever see him swing at something and you go, why the hell did you swing at that? Which this lineup is full of. I mean, Andy Pa has swung at 6 balls that were in the left-hand batter's box when he first came up, and that was indicative of what this lineup had, except for Freddie Freeman. And Miguel Rojas will at least give you an at-bat where you're like, you know what? Yeah, like, I'm confident he could at least hit something and find a hole, find some grass, and that's what he's been doing. And I've been loving his at-bats.
Listen, you got to love Miguel Rojas, and if you're able to get, the lineup kind of squared away, if you do get Max Muncy back, and let's say Muncy comes back and he's playing as expected, he's, as Scott likes to now say, he's matching the stats on the back of the baseball card.
Yep.
And if you're having Miguel Rojas at shortstop, and guys, again, I'll plug it again. Loved my conversation. Loved mine and Alanna's conversation today with Dave Roberts. I think everybody here will really freaking love it tomorrow on Dodgers territory. I've been doing this a long time. I've talked to a lot of players. I've talked to a lot of coaches, media, everybody. This was by far my favorite interview I've ever done. Just talking to Doc. He's a great dude, but he tipped his hand. He tipped his hand a little bit. We asked him about, his... Miguel Rojas, your shortstop. Is Mookie Betts going to be your leadoff guy? Is he going to be your shortstop? And I think the three of us in particular, we can read Dave Roberts. We speak Dave, and Miguel Rojas is staying at shortstop. There's not a doubt in my mind he's going to be that guy. And all he needs to do is, we're talking about Miguel Rojas. He needs to hit in the 7 spot. He needs to be hitting the 8 spot. He's not cleaning up, and you are getting arguably the best defensive shortstop in baseball in that position, and Mookie Betts sliding over to second base, which fixes our Gavin Lux problem. Max Muncy coming back, hopefully doing what we expect from him at third. You know what you get in Freddie. All of a sudden, real quickly, that infield could be good. But what did we just say earlier? We're worried about that idea of the additions are going to come from the injured list. You don't want to bank on that. So you hope, hey, are they going to get an outfielder? Are they going to get a third base / second base? Somebody who can play the infield a little bit, like Kevin and I talked about a couple weeks ago, looking at some third base trade options. Is that Justin Turner, something like that? I think they are active. I think they get something, but it is going to focus more on the bench. That's my riff. That's my spiel on that. Scott, we didn't get your opinion. Where has your opinion changed through the course of the season or just last month?
Oh no, we did. We did.
Yeah,
we did.
But
I'll go through it again. It's how well the starting pitching and the bullpen. They've persevered. But I wanted to follow up. You don't have to give it, because a proper tease for a show is exactly how I play that, for sure. But if you're saying that this is that's what I would hope. I know people on, I forgot which, I think it might have been, Jeff Spiegel or Blake. I forgot who I was speaking with, that when Mookie returns, that it might've been a conversation on Twitter. I was like, there's no way that you can have Mookie Betts, who has been out, that will be out for this much time, who is learning a new position and cannot, if it was his right hand, his throwing hand, it'd be a different story. Because then he could go out and take ground balls. He could still do that, that side work and continue feeling that rhythm. But he cannot do any of that because it's his left hand. Mm-hmm. So how can you put him back at shortstop? Even as bad as it's been, his defense was horrific. No shit talking Mookie. Yeah. I give him all the credit in the world. He's working his ass off this, to get a feel for this position, and all credit to him. But it has not really worked out, and I can't think under any circumstance you put him back there. You got to put him at second base, get back on track, and then perhaps Gavin Lux on the bench. If he's going to be on the team, that's another plus for the bench. You get another lefty on the bench with a guy who can be athletic. You can put him in some plus spots and go that route. because then that's the way that I'll be like, okay, now your deadline additions are going to be Max Muncy, all things considered. We'll say his oblique stays healthy. Miguel Rojas is going to be the shortstop, and you're going to put Mookie at second base. I could sign on that the infield could be okay. All right, Kevin, don't go crazy. That's
I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that.
That's the way that I'll take a breath and say that's fine. And then Kevin Biggio's gone, and if they bring Lipsius up to be on the bench, whatever, and they find some platoon guys. But then if you want to say now the outfield can be their main, focus at the deadline, that's how I can co-sign it all. I'll be like, fine, I'm good with it. You don't have to go too crazy, and then we can all take a breath.
I want to so somebody in chat, GI, brought this up. I'm going to assume their numbers are good. I haven't looked at them myself. Says you guys need to look under the hood a bit more. Problem with the offense is, by and large, is RISP. Lux has a 305, 369, 422 slash with RISP, higher than Rojas. That screams to me like a good bench bat. Somebody you need to drive in a run. He's got like a 7 whatever that is OPS with runners in scoring position. You, like you said, get all these guys back, toss Lux to the bench, and just say, hey, when we need to get a knock with a guy on second, you're our guy against a right-handed pitcher. I could buy into that.
No, I
his
like
play discipline has been solid. Like we've watched, eye test.
Yeah.
My big eye test has shown me that Gavin Lux doesn't look like, if he strikes out, cool, but he works on it bad. But he's been getting some bad calls. I don't know if there's another hitter I've watched around Major League Baseball this year. There's been a few. I forgot some names. I think it's Lars Newbar has just been getting just horrific calls all season. But Gavin Lux has been consistently getting terrible calls. It's like what we see from Mookie Betts, same thing. But Gavin Lux doesn't really look like he's giving away as many at bats. But I've liked the at bat quality when he's working counts, and we've seen it. And that's how he'll put a ground ball right side. But aside from that, he's not. But that's why I think that if he's on the bench, you can pick and choose your spots there. So yeah, Kevin, man, I'm with you, bro.
Yeah. No, I thought it was a great point, and like you said, so and that kind of gives away some of my my trade opinions of where this team should possibly go at the deadline.
Yeah, so I was gonna get people's biggest surprises, but I think we've done enough teasing. I think we've talked enough about the season so far. People are here for the trades. We put butts in the seats when we're talking trade talk here on the internet to button up the Lux talk. There's absolutely a world. There's absolutely a reality where Gavin Lux comes off the bench and in the postseason and delivers a big knock. Maybe it's a Kike Hernandez type of scenario that we saw in 2020 postseason. It's something important. I think he needs to stop trying to sell out for power. I think he needs to level that swing out a little bit where his helmet isn't flying off on swings, but your bench does get better when you have your starting second baseman all of a sudden on it, and that's just kind of my opinions on it. But we'll see. Hey, maybe they make a big trade and all this is gone. Maybe they trade away Lux. I don't know. We'll talk about that in a second. But I should tell you guys, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're painfully close to 7K. We just passed 69. Nice. 100 last night. I think we're at like 6910 here on YouTube. So that's pretty cool. Thank you guys so much so far for the support. Hopefully we keep going. We keep climbing. Hit the thumbs up button. As Diane said, smash the like button. Let's boost this show up in the algorithms because, you got some brilliant minds here talking Dodger baseball. Plus I'm here. I'm hanging around having a good time. But boys, what are I guess we don't even need to talk about the biggest concerns. We've already had talked about biggest concerns. It's the bench. It's the infield. Maybe it's starting pitching. Let's talk a little trade deadline. Do they need a shortstop? No, I think we've kind of covered that. Do they need a third baseman? Maybe somebody that can be a bench option until Muncy comes back, or somebody that's a break in case of emergency if Muncy doesn't come back. The starting pitcher, I already said that earlier. Maybe that's where my opinion changed. Maybe they need to go add a starting pitcher along with an outfield bat. Bench is definitely the kind of spot. So I'm going to stop talking about that. I want Scott, run through some options here. Both of you guys, just kind of talk through options. I know there's a lot of big names people are looking at. They're loving on. They're hoping that this team can go out and acquire. What's the pulse of the fan base right now? What do people want? What do people need?
I would say, if you did a poll anywhere, a lot of people might say shortstop. A lot of people might do that. Like they really would. And starting pitching right afterwards. I think so. With how things have kind of transpired. But if you're able to lay out everything we just talked about in terms of Miguel Rojas, if Chris Taylor is truly going to be, on this upswing and sticks there, he can hold off on third base and hold that position down for the time being. And then once Muncy comes back, he can go back to that utility role where he's best. And that's why he's valuable. But, on the starting pitching route, you want me to go through? I'm going to say somebody I think.
Let's have some eat and let it eat.
Okay. So I saw my guy Mike. I'm great. I'm glad that he's here again. Good to see you, buddy. But I'm all in on Jack Flaherty. I'm all in. I'd call up. I would. I'm Andrew Friedman. They pick it up. I say, hey, what's it going to take to bring Big Jack Flaherty on a 1-year deal, pitching on a 1-year contract, to bring him to LA. He'll have about $7 million plus left over to the rest of the season. What's it going to take to bring him in? Because he's been one of the best starting pitchers in all of Major League Baseball. And dating back to the beginning of May, we're talking about a guy who has a 2.72 ERA, 3.18 FIP, and a 2.36 expected FIP. He's got an over an 11 K per nine, and he's not walking people. So this is a guy who has postseason experience. This is a pitcher who's continuously dominated. And this is even counting the last start he had against the Angels, where he gave up 5 2/3. So he's gone out there and been consistently shoving. He's an additional arm that, he'll have some interest, but it's that contract value. It's the additional money where I think the Dodgers could, absorb that and go from there and get a very quality arm from a Tigers team that they will deal him. That's they've already said that.
I was going to say, I don't know. How do the Tigers go trading? I mean, they're right in it, right?
This guy.
Come on now. Detroit.
How do they do that?
Kevin, I think I saw, did we miss a super chat in there?
We did. Somebody wanted to, we were talking trades.
Swelling sausage.
Yep, no 99. Mason Miller for rushing. And one more, he's a savage. I'm telling you, Oakland hangs up, and that's not a good sound you want to hear from the Oakland Athletics, is them hanging up. But it would take a lot more. He's got like 3 more years of team control or something like that for potentially one of the best relievers in baseball. It would take a good haul. It'd be rushing and another top, or like 2 mids probably minimum.
Scott, I'm assuming you got some more starting pitchings. We'll talk about that in a second, because there are absolutely options there. We've already heard about. I know you guys over at Dodger Blue just covered the latest with Garrett Crochet, who Dodgers did reportedly, not allegedly, but reportedly, it's not a legal crime. We're not talking about crimes. Did reportedly offer or make an offer to the White Sox that was quickly rejected. That came from Bob Nightingale. But sticking on the Mason Miller. I don't know if I'm the only guy in here. I don't think this team, and it feels like I think we're in agreement. I don't think this team needs bullpen help. I really don't, especially with some of the guys coming back. We know Joe Kelly heading out today on the Rancho rehab, probably back in, I think Dave said 3 to 4 outings, something like that. So should be around trade deadline. You get him back. I don't know where you fit him in there. I don't think this team needs bullpen help. Anybody disagree?
I could say maybe one, like a buy low guy, but I feel like Kyle Hurt can be that guy. That's somebody I've liked all year, and he's on the mend right now. I mean, not even on the mend. He's already pitching. He's doing well. He's not a big strikeout guy, but fits the same mold as Brusdar. Heavy sinker guy. He throws a bowling ball up there, and that's someone I've liked for several seasons. So I think that's an addition where down the stretch you can do that. He can give you multiple innings. He's worked on, those have been his outings. He's been a starter down in AAA. So that's an arm that I feel very confidently in. It's a lot of people look at the strikeout numbers and say he's not elite, but I think he could be a very quality piece because he's a hard thrower. He's going to miss barrels, and that's just been it. And Blake Trinan mold stuff, Brusdar Gratterall mold, and you just go out there and get it done. So I think Kyle Hurt is a guy that I really feel that could be a big addition. So we could avoid bullpen, but I'm with you. I don't think this is a need where you go out and you find a Chris Martin and you find someone that's fix it and send him off the year following.
Another Brazier or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. With Hurt, the thing I like about that, and you mentioned, giving you some potential for length, maybe a 2 or 3 inning guy. Let's be fair. Let's be real. Ryan Yarbrough doesn't have a spot on this roster when it gets to postseason time. He doesn't have that kind of stuff. He is every bit of a regular season pitcher. And Kevin and I have talked about that on the channel already a few times. He's probably not somebody that makes that roster. He's taxi at best if he's not traded, which I don't know they go that route. But Kyle Hurt plugging in that spot, you add another guy who can hit upper 90s with that fastball, just makes the bullpen that much better. And we've seen it. We've seen that kind of that mold work, whether it's Kyle Hurt. Hey, you know what? We haven't even mentioned Dustin May, who's could be a month away, could be a month and a half away, but he is an option to return to this team. And we've seen the mold work. We saw it happen with Julio Urias and the 2020 World Series team. Having that guy that can get you some innings at any point in the season. We've seen it work a lot. Look at the 2017 cheating Astros riding with Charlie Morton to a championship. The 2018 cheating Red Sox riding with Chris Sale to a championship. Having those guys that can get you that bulk innings, and if they're on, you leave them in there, you let them eat. Don't need to stick to the script. And that's what I appreciate about what Dave did. I very much appreciate in 20, where he didn't just go to Kenley because he was his guy. It was very clear Kenley wasn't the guy. And yeah, you pivot and you use what you have, and hopefully they have a lot of those guys around. Maybe Bruce Dark does come back and is healthy. But I do like the guys in-house. And if you're talking about, Hurt versus a Mason Miller type, give me the Kyle Hurt, because you can use those prospects and go and get yourself another big-time piece. At least that's my thought on that. Kevin, I want some thoughts from you on that.
I'm not one that really thinks they need starting pitching. I think their need for starting pitching relies entirely on the health of Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So I will say this. If Yamamoto is expected to be back, or say if he's not expected to be back, I think they immediately need high-end starting pitching. Go get Tarik Skubal. Just trade the farm. They have plenty of arms. They have plenty they can give away. Go get Tarik Skubal. He's a proven commodity. If Yamamoto, they don't know by the deadline, he could be back, he couldn't be back, we're not sure. I think Garrett Crochet does become the number one answer for the exact reasons you just lined out. If Yamamoto comes back, who better to be on a 2-inning hitman for the entire postseason than Garrett Crochet? You just send him to the bullpen. If you're worried about his innings limit, you send him to the bullpen. If Yamamoto doesn't come back, then he can just be another starter, and you just hope his arm doesn't fall off. It relies entirely on Yamamoto, and that's where I'll stick with that, because the Dodgers have always used in the postseason a starter as a reliever.
Yeah. So
Garrett Crochet fits that bill, but again, if they see that his, shoulders falling off the bone, then they really need a front end guy.
Dodgers don't win that 20 World Series also without Alex Wood in the bullpen.
Yeah,
he gets bounced from the rotation, and he was in a huge part. But anyways, Scott, follow Kevin's points there.
I'll be honest. I don't think that we see Yamamoto.
Ooh.
I don't think we see him.
Ooh.
I'm worried about that too.
I know we're early on, and in his contract, but that's exactly it. There's no reason to push him. This is a massive long-term investment to Yamamoto. And for him, he's got, a very confusing contract from a lot of perspectives, stuff tied to injuries. I don't think they want to mess with that. I think they want to get him at full strength no matter what, even if that comes with just shutting him down, especially in his first year in Major League Baseball. On this travel schedule, he's already noted, it's crept out that the extensive travel has kind of gotten to him a little bit. I think that they're going to push that out, and they're just going to say, we'll see you next year, and go from there. So that's why, but you bring up, Skubal, that I don't know if the Tigers necessarily have to get rid of him. And that's why, if the Dodgers have already made an offer to Garrett Crochet, that's a route that they're, going to put their feelers out and then go for it there, and then weigh their options closer we get towards the deadline. But just the fact that it got out that the Dodgers have already made an offer for him, it sounds like they're all in on that. And I have no reason to believe that they're not. He's been incredible. Garrett Crochet, dating back to May, has a 1.49 ERA, 1.51 FIP. He's just been lights out. We're talking about career year stuff. This is something that I hope he is, pitching in the All-Star game beyond the display, because he's one of the best pitchers around Major League Baseball. He's exactly what you want. High strikeouts, not walking people. And I'm in on it. If they're doing it, if that's what they're looking for, then go for it. And then it's just, they have to supplement it with some outfield. But as far as Crochet, Skubal, you want to do that, I do think they need it. I really do, because we haven't seen what Gavin Stone has done. Even as, as all in I am on him, it's past Glass now, Gavin Stone. Then what are we doing?
Yeah, it does.
That's where you hope for a Yamamoto or like a Crochet or something like that. And to your Crochet points, I was actually that was the James Paxton Crochet game. I was at that game, and one thing I took away is Crochet looked amazing despite how bad the White Sox infield defense is. Like, there were just balls that were just getting past third baseman, getting past second baseman. And I was like, if you just put like a competent defense behind this guy, his ERA is probably better than it is. And I looked it up. His ERA is like a 3.02 and his FIP's a 2.37.
Ooh.
He's
good.
He's being hurt by bad defense. The worry is his arm and whether or not it falls off.
On Yoshinobu Yamamoto, I know Blake Williams is covering the game today for you guys at Dodger Blue. They did tweet the account earlier. Dave, the update on Yoshinobu Yamamoto, still doesn't have a timeline, still not throwing a baseball, and I think that echoes the concern that you just laid out there, Scott. Maybe there is a reality where we don't see Yoshi back, and that's a lot of concerning for me. And if you're banking on a Dustin May, you're banking on Clayton Kershaw to give you something with his surgically repaired shoulder. You're hoping that Walker Buehler, something clicks. And by the way, Buehler away from the team right now, working with, they said not with Dodgers, organizational people, but they are aware of who he's working with as he tries to get himself back online or back on track. There's a lot of ifs, and there's too many ifs for a team that, again, committed $1.3 billion to its roster this offseason. I feel like that's just too many ifs. So if it's Skubal, however you say it, if it's Crochet, Jack Flaherty.
Jack Flaherty is a perfect.
I was all in on Flaherty last year, by the way, even though the numbers I think weren't the prettiest at the deadline, but they, thank God we got Lance Lynn, right?
So we can't do that. It just can't do that.
It can't be that. Scott, it can't be that.
At least we don't have Carl Weezer, Nick Nastrini, that fool's gold dude. Get him out. I know that's a Dodger Blue joke. Blake Williams' favorite prospect all time has got to be Nick Nastrini. He was just heartbroken over it. I heard for like a month and a half after. He's like, "Oh, Nick Nastrini." He texted me at like 3 a.m. Nick Nastrini, broken heart, crazy stuff. They need a pitcher. They do. And I know somebody said in chat, I'm watching here, it's I think it's Hep, or who was this? No, GI. Same thing. I think that they're going to go they want some players who are team control so they can worry about it later. And I think they do. I really think they do need a starting pitcher. But if they want to go Flaherty route and go the 1 year thing, cool. But I think they need some control there, even with having Yamamoto, even with Glass now under contract, Stone with a few more years, because you don't know what Bobby Miller is going to give. You don't know where he's at. Walker Buehler is gone. Kershaw is gone. It's just, I feel like they would like to solidify that maybe with another arm. And if it's Garrett Crochet, they have to get rid of some of these prospects in their farm system, because like we talked about last night, Clint, we're looking at prospects that are aging out.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be like, now what do we do with these guys? So they have to do something. I thought it was last year, but it looks like this year, when there's true needs to the roster and there's a pressing matter in their farm system, to get rid of some guys because they're going to age out where they're attractive options to other teams.
Bold prediction, guys. Give me your it's not even a bold prediction. I guess it is. It is a bold prediction. Who, when we're talking a month from now, who is the new Dodger, or who are the new Dodgers? Give me one. It can either be a wish list or somebody you think in your heart of hearts is an actual, could actually happen. Kevin, who's your guy?
It was John Morosi went on the radio and teased that the Cubs could be selling, and the Dodgers need outfield help. And he mentioned a certain outfielder that I have wanted for so long. No, it's Ian Happ. He said Ian Happ could, if the Chicago Cubs do decide to go the way of a salary dump, that Ian Happ could be made available. If Ian Happ is available, he is my number one trade target. He's a gold glover. He's an above average bat. He's better against right-handers than he is left-handed. His contract is so nice. He has 2 more years of team control. He's owed 21 next year, and then 19 the year after. That is just nothing for a player of Ian Happ's caliber. Just give me that all day. I don't know if he'll be made available. If he is, that's team control that I like. That's a bat that I really like, and it's defense that I can fall in love with.
Yeah, I mean, we know this team has needed some help in left field, need some help in the outfield, kind of solidify some things. You do make your bench a little bit better.
A lot better.
If you're adding, Jason Hayward, or, I doubt it's going to be Andy Paz, but say Jason Hayward and Miguel Vargas to your bench. And if that means jettisoning somebody like Kike Hernandez, who at this point does not deserve a playoff roster spot, I am all for it. Ian Happ, though, I think he would waive that trade deadline, or that no trade clause, get the hell out of Chicago. Go to a winner.
By the way, Chicago's getting got torched in the 10th inning again. No, they're currently losing 6-1. Never mind. The Phillies are taking it to them.
Scott, I want your bold prediction, but also I very much appreciate the fear that he was going to say Cody Bellinger.
Gavin Stone's wearing 35. Cody can't come back.
This is true. Also, Cody Bellinger, well, he's bad, but anyways, I'm not gonna get in on Cody. Cody shouldn't come back. But Scott, who's your guy? Who's your one guy?
I said, like, when Luis Robert was like teased earlier on, like it was that, but the more it's come out, like the less chatter about it, the more we look into him, and a lot of the clips come out that he just looks like he doesn't give a damn. And regardless of where you're at, like, that's something that's super unattractive. I mean, I see people in chat. Mike, I see you, bro. Like, you've been chatting me about JJ Bleday for a long time, and I see it for months. You've been talking to me about it and hoping. I've done some digging on him, and he hasn't been great, but he's got team control, and he's under contract. He's under team control through, I think, the 2028 season. So long time. And again, that leans right into what I've said, that they need some controllable stuff. But I'm gonna say it, like, Andy Pages has shown, like, he's weathered this little storm he's on. He's kind of flipped some things. He's swinging at first pitch stuff here. He was been one of the top 30 National League bats in the month of June per WRC plus. He's right in line with what Jurickson Profar did this last month. So take that for what it will. Like, he's been a very solid player. Like, he needs to fix his damn self on defense and then go from there. He needs to learn some base running. Dave needs to get on some cleats and run the bags, teach him a little bit, and then do that. But somebody like, I don't know if it'll happen. But this is back of the baseball card stuff. I'm all in on it. But Randy Arozarena, if they're able to swing that, you're not only getting one of the top postseason performers that we've seen in the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever. But he's on an upswing that since the beginning of June, he's got a 163 WRC plus. This is a guy that has proven it day in, day out, that he can do this stuff, that he's under control for a few more seasons, and it's able to let them reset the clock on one of their outfield slots there if Teoscar does walk. And that's something that they have to account for as well, because then we're going to talk about that they have two more positions they need to fix. So if they want to go that route, they can get someone who can help them in the postseason, give you a veteran outfielder to remedy that, give you another October presence, and it's something that we don't have to question.
Yeah, I would argue, or I would not even argue. I would say we've talked about it on the channel over the last couple of months. You look beyond this year. Outfield is definitely it's thin. It's a little concerning. James Outman, maybe last year was his one flash in the pan. Andy Pages still needs some refining. You already mentioned, as much as Teoscar Hernandez wants to come back, he says he wants to come back. Baseball's a business. You don't know if he's coming back. Randy Arozarena, I mean, Randy Wood. Just give us Randy Wood in left field.
Feed families.
Let everybody do the thing. Do the hug or whatever he does. Like, that's
he crosses his arms.
Yeah, I'm calling it a hug.
He crosses his arms.
Listen. I panicked.
You don't watch Tampa Bay Rays games? What?
Yeah, just like everybody in Tampa Bay. Hey, we haven't mentioned this guy for a little bit, but we got to talk about it because we got $1.99 super chat from Noah Ortega. It's like, do people forget about Tommy Pham? That's a bench guy, but that's not a difference maker. We're gonna need a difference maker in the postseason, whether that's a starter, whether it's an outfielder, whether it's an infielder, somebody who maybe is even better than Miguel Rojas at shortstop. I don't think we find that guy. I'm real mixed, and this isn't my bold prediction or whatever. I'm real mixed on the Bo Bichette because like sometimes it looks like he's a good player, sometimes he's not, other times he's not. You love the hit tool. You do worry about the defense at times. I think the Dodgers can help somebody like Bo Bichette, but I feel good about the infield.
They
Presuming
reportedly took him off the block anyway.
Oh, that's what you do when you're trying to maximize your trade value for a guy. All of that said, I guess I'm at a point. I don't really know who my guy is. I'm not that super high on Crochet. Yeah. If anybody, maybe it is that guy because I like what you guys said. What we said earlier in the chat is he is somebody who could, get you some big innings at the front, or if you find some other starters that work out for you internally. He's somebody who can be a weapon at any point during a game in the postseason. That's all I care about. This load me up for the best possible chance to win in the postseason, where we don't need to see Kershaw out there in game one. We're hitting some innings concerns as well for guys like Stoner, for Tyler Glasnow. They need some help. They need some starting pitching help, and screw it. I'm going to say Crochet because, he's somebody that has the front line potential, and that's what this team needs. Not just another dude, not another James Paxton type, not a Yusei Kikuchi. It needs a guy that's a dude. Maybe Flaherty can be that guy, but I'm going to go Crochet just because he's a sexy name. So Dodgers want him. They're going to go get him.
Yeah, like real quick to piggyback on that, it's like last season it was a spot where it's like, why the hell didn't they use Ryan Pepio in the playoffs? Like there was no rhyme or reason. Like a lot came out, like can't get into that, can't tell you where I heard it, but they went into October and they didn't have a plan for Ryan Pepio. I can't tell you about it, but that's what I do know. So it's a very odd thing, and I just want them to have no doubt about who their front end rotation will be. So the problem is here, it's where it's at. I really do believe that they'll get a front end guy because it says a lot from where Crochet, has the press for them this early, for them to be offering or like even getting the feelers out, for what Garrett Crochet could take. So I feel like they're all in on that front and they're going to go there. Maybe if they pivot and say, hey, we can find this production in Jack Flaherty and go from there. Skubal, I think that's, I love reaching for the stars 100%, but that's someone where they just don't have to, you look at it like you don't have to, deal a guy like that. But it's just to your thing about Bo Bichette. The cost of shortstops is always going to be through the roof because it's a premium position. Mm-hmm. So if the Dodgers want to pivot away from that and say, hey, why don't we just go get, a little bit more in and go get a starting pitcher and then go find some corner outfield help, then go that sense and not have to go bank on another 1-year guy who you're not in love with. Because if they gave $300 million to Xander, I would have been pissed. I didn't want Trey Turner because speed power guys, that will not translate well. You don't want to do that. So it all leads back to Corey Seager. And now we're talking about, Bo Bichette will be the savior. So we can always talk ourselves out of these trades if you really look at it and not without the shock value. So if they can, go ahead and say Mookie's the deadline acquisition, Rojas stays there, Muncy fixes that corner side, we've got Freddie. Go on, let's go get corner, let's go attack starting pitching, bullpen's good, we roll, Yep.
So that's the plan that I hope they go with. Somebody brought up Pham as a starting outfielder. I agree. He has an 846 postseason OPS, by the way. Like if they just want to, that's not dumpster diving at all.
No,
that's like that's that's needle moving offensive production from Tommy Pham. So, but yeah, to Scott's point, I hope that's the direction they go. Preferably outfield first, and then if you can get a front end starting pitcher, absolutely. Mostly, and honestly, this is where I'm coming from. Is mostly it's because they have too many prospects. They have too many guys. They're just sitting around doing absolutely nothing,
aging out,
wasting away. Yeah, so
aging out.
Just get rid of them. Let's get a new crop of guys, and go from and hopefully win something in October.
What I want to see quickly, and then I think it would be bad if we didn't do grades. So we'll speed run through grades before first pitch or into the first inning a little bit, and then we'll get out of here, guys. But the team I mentioned it a little bit. The team needs some help against right-handed pitching. They're only 29-25 against right-handed pitching so far this season. I was going to mention it earlier in the show, but they're hitting 249 with a 761 OPS against righties. Meanwhile, they're crushing lefties. So Pham is one of those guys who historically crushes lefties. I need somebody who can come in there and give a quality, productive at bat against some righties. Who that is, I don't know. Well, Muncy's probably one of those guys, but they need a little bit of help against righty starters, righty relievers, all that. That's the facts. That's the numbers. They tell you that.
Last year, Pham's splits evened out. They were actually a lot closer to, I think he was upper 700s against right-handed pitching too. So just because I remember last year, I wanted Pham so bad. I dug in on him a lot, and like it was, I looked down, I was like, he's just a starting outfielder at this point. He was like upper 700s against right, low 8s against lefts. So like, I was just...
Think of how good your team is if he's on the bench too. Ooh, man, that's a team that wants to go and win. GI says Outman. No, we're not going to see Outman back, and I don't want to put my faith in James Outman. But guys, let's get through some grades real quick. I'm gonna fire off all my grades, and then Scott, you fire off yours, and then Kevin, you bring up the rear here. But for me, my grades, my report card here after the month of June, given that rotation, I'm kind of mixed. I'm giving it a B- or a C+, just because there were some stinkers in there. And Scott, I know earlier in the show you said you kind of like what you saw out of the starters. But I mentioned there are some innings concerns coming up. I mean, anytime you're going to eventually get to Colorado, you're probably going to see some stinkers mixed in there. Glasnow didn't look great. He said he had nothing there against the Giants, day game at Oracle. Bobby Miller, not good in his first couple of games back. Yamamoto, you really don't know, but you kind of know. There's a strong likelihood. It feels more likely or less likely, or more likely we won't get him back than getting him back at this point. And then Buehler kind of flopping. That fell the furthest for me. Starting pitching, I'm going C+ because why not? Bullpen, A-. They continue to overperform. Some hiccups in there, but they turned in their homework, so they get the grade. There's still room for growth, and maybe some of those guys are coming back to help out. Brazier, Joe Kelly, Graterol, if he is an option. Guadawal. Infield, they also slipped. You already talked a lot about it. B- to a C for me. You lost Mookie, but you gained a daily Miggy Rowe. Freddie was hot, but freezing cold for Will Smith. Gavin Lux, continuing to flounder. Too much Kike, too much Kevin Biggio existing, suddenly relying on CT3, who was dead and buried for the first 2 months of the season. Needs some help there. We already talked about it. Outfield, I'm going outfield plus DH. No, not plus. Sorry, outfield C+. It gained for me. Maybe I should have gone B-, whatever. I'm going to go 6C+, just because you mentioned it. Pages been solid with the stick. He needs to just refine little parts of his game, but I like him as a playoff center fielder, as a potential playoff center fielder. Teoscar continues to be that steady run producer. The platoon of Hayward and Vargas can be intriguing. Is it a championship caliber outfield though? That is a question worth raising at some point. Shohei, that's an A. It's Shohei. That's what he does. And bench, D-. Fix it. You got to fix it. So, Scott, give me some grades.
I'm just going straight through. I'm gonna go keep it vanilla. Offense was for what they've done without Mookie most of the time, still without Max. I'm gonna say the offense was a B. They need to get better with runners in scoring position. They're one of the best teams with nobody on base, and that's fine. They just need to get better with runners in scoring position. Cool. Starting pitching, I'm gonna say a B. I like what I see from Landon Knack. Gavin Stone continues to separate himself. He's one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. Glasnow, we know he's going to have some games where the stuff just ain't there, and that's just what it is. I'm just going to, for what they're doing, they're not the reason they're losing games.
Yep.
It's the bench. The bench, F, don't care. You can't convince me otherwise. It's a horrific thing. Like, this is it's embarrassing for a collection of what they've got going on here. To have not one surefire player on that bench outside of Miguel Vargas, who they refuse to play. He's like the redhead kid who you just don't want to, you're not picking till the last. And bullpen, I'm with you. He's an A, and bullpen gets an A. They just have a formula going on.
Yeah.
Let's ride it. Yep. Keep it short, sweet.
Appreciate it, Kevin.
Yeah.
Take us out.
Starters for me, I'll do the same. B-, honestly. Gavin Stone was great. Glasnow had a couple hiccups. It was his worst month of the season. The one thing that worries me though is they were 22nd in the month of June in innings pitched. You're not getting length from the starters. It's going to tax the bullpen. You can't keep riding that. We need to see there's a lot of improvement that needs to happen, both quality and quantity. That's why I'm giving them a low B. But at the same token, that means the bullpen gets an A because they have been used more. Did you guys know that Yohan Ramirez was the most used bullpen arm in the month of June? And they do it at a 2.25 ERA and a 1 WHIP. Like, these are guys that they're not even the usual suspects. He's better than, or not better than Messi, better than Phillips, better than Trinan. So you got a bunch of dudes that are just getting it done. Love what I'm seeing from the bullpen overall. Outfield is a B. They're 9th in WAR. They're 10th in WRC plus. They're 10th in OPS in the month of June. Their defense is suspect. Got to see better from Pajes specifically. He needs to run routes or something. I'm not sure what. Infield is a C-. Freddie and Rojas carry that group hard. Will Smith slumped. When Will Smith is slumping, then you also have Austin Barnes. That's pretty rough from your catchers.
Yeah.
And then third base and Gavin Lux are what they are at this point. Bench, it's a D-. Tonight's bench is Austin Barnes, Kevin Biggio, Kike Hernandez, and Miguel Vargas. Just throwing that out there. The bench is a D-. The only reason it's not an F is because of 2 weeks of Chris Taylor. And I can't believe I'm saying that.
It's a tough spot we're in, boys. But, again, this time, a month from now, we're going to have some trades to talk about. Or we're going to have some no trades, and we're going to be pissed about them not adding to this team. Because, they let us down last year. They absolutely put up a stinker at the deadline last year. And I will never forgive this team for going out and getting Lance Lynn and calling it good enough.
I will go Old Testament if they don't make a move at the deadline.
Well, guys, we appreciate you hanging out with us. If you guys want more Scott, he's going to be live on Dodger Blue post-game right after the game. So he's got to go watch the game and pull up some gripes or hopefully have something maybe good to talk about. People, though, they want gritty Scott Geirman. They don't want positive Scotty, right?
Everybody remembers that from last year. I was all in on that. I was all into the fun Dodgers last year. David Peralta, Jason Hayward. They had some gritty games, man, but then they just let it down. It was embarrassing. They just, embarrassing October. It got to me.
It was bad.
I'm a different fan this year. No more.
It's all part of that growth. As you get older, you get more bitter about disappointment. But guys, make sure you follow him. Of course, I have it somewhere. There it is. There's their ats on the screen. Of course, give producer Kevin a follow. Let's get him to 1 billion followers on Twitter. Or, maybe like 150 or something like that. We keep growing, keep the brand moving. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all the great questions and comments. Thank you so much for the super chats and hanging out during the show, even now as the Dodgers are live and they're doing their thing. I got to promote again tomorrow, Dodgers territory, 12 p.m. Alanna Rizzo and I speak with Dodgers manager Dave Roberts, and I think it was a pretty dang good conversation, so tube in. I didn't get a chance to give it much love here, but guys, sign up on Patreon if you're looking for a different way to support the show, support the channel, and join a little community we have growing. You get access to the Discord server. You get what else do you get? Oh yeah, the voicemail hotline. There's cool things, and as well, hit the join button on YouTube. You get the same perks, and there's little emojis you get to use on YouTube. So those are cool. Patreon.com/realfrg. It's $5 a month. It's super cheap. That's about it, guys. Thank you to the mods for kicking ass and taking names in the chat. As usual, All Dodgers is presented by BetOnline. Go use that promo code or something like that. That'd be cool. I'm Real FRG on all the social media platforms, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.